There's no question that Senator Hanson held her ground at the press club, thinking quickly on her feet. But today was also about the content of One Nation's evolving policy plans. Barnaby Joyce is One Nation's Treasury spokesperson. Barnaby Joyce, welcome.
Absolute pleasure, Sarah.
Did you help write Senator Hanson's speech?
No, I didn't. I certainly had suggestions, and I probably did give some information about how it might go during the questioning, but no, it's a Senator Hanson speech, not a Barnaby Joyce speech.
Senator Hanson made clear in her speech today that she sees the defence of small business owners as more important than supporting higher wages and job protection for low-paid workers. Is that the choice the party has made now, to back small business over workers?
Well, the greatest driver of our economy is small business. No big business would ever exist if it hadn't been a small business. So what Senator Hanson was saying, that you have to have a holistic look at this. If you arbitrarily say, well, we're just going to put up wages and somehow magically the small business that's already struggling, in some instances on its knees, is going to be able to somehow charge $10 for a cup of coffee and everybody will buy it, well, it won't.
Let me move on to immigration. Senator Hanson made the case that there is something fundamentally wrong with the fact that 51% of Australian residents are overseas born or have an overseas born parent. Are you turning your backs on 51% of the population?
No, I don't think so at all. What we're saying is Australia has to have the capacity to bring in an Australian culture, a culture with guardrails, a culture that is able to absorb people so that we have harmony, we have peace, and we have a unity of purpose. If you get a balkanisation in Australia where there are so many people from so many different corners that they basically live their culture, not an Australian culture, then inherently that just does not work out.
But you're
and we've
saying,
seen that in Europe.
In this case,
we don't want to repeat the European problem.
Yeah, she made that clear. I think she referred to European countries as S-holes. But just staying with this, the case that she made today, she's making the case that there is something fundamentally wrong about coming from another country.
No, it's not that it's fundamentally wrong, Sarah. It's just that in excess, it's fundamentally points to a problem. The issue is we are not against immigration. We're against immigration in such a form as we are unable to find the houses for people, we're unable to find the hospitals for the people, we're unable to find the services for the people, in some instances unable to find the jobs for the people.
But this,
and
if I may, Barnaby,
to create a culture that absorbs them into the Australian ethos.
Let's talk about values, because this wasn't in a part of the speech where she was talking about the link between immigration and housing. This is more fundamental about values. Do you agree that Australians born overseas or with parents born overseas are destroying Australia's identity and values?
I don't know whether, well, she didn't say that they were destroying Australia's identity and values. She said that obviously it links to a problem that if you have an excess anywhere, it's an indicator that you are not sort of self-fulfilling your own destiny, that you're relying too much on trying to import your future and import your progress. And I don't think that works. And if it's politically incorrect to say the bleeding obvious, then so be it. And some people will be happy and some people will be unhappy. And that's life. Be honest, be straight and accept the consequences.
Yes, she did make the case linking that number, 51% of people either born overseas or with a parent born overseas, being responsible for Australia losing its values, which brings me back to that question. Is One Nation turning its back on 51% of the population foreign-born or with a parent foreign-born?
No, it's not. And what it is saying is that in the future we must find a better way to do this. We can't just think we're going to import progress or import prosperity, because self-evidently it is a fact that our income per person, our wealth per person adjusted, has been going down, not up. So it hasn't worked.
Do you agree that too many people in Australia speak Mandarin at home?
The issue is that speaking Mandarin at the expense of not being able to speak English is a massive problem. It's a massive problem for the person who just speaks Mandarin and a massive problem for other people who have to interact in that society. You can go home and speak Romanian. You can go home and speak whatever you like, but you have to have the competency in English to be an equal participant in the Australian culture, and you have to have the capacity to make sure that your worth is able to be conducive to Australia's progression.
So that is a yes. That is a yes from you to that question. You think there are too many people in Australia speaking Mandarin at home?
No, you're verbling me, Sarah.
Well, then answer the question, Barnaby Joyce, if you would.
We'll play this game and
It's not a game.
We'll play this game and gobble up all the interview in this sort of like, tete-a-tete nuance of our rhetoric. But I don't intend to do that. I've said, and I'll repeat, that the issue is you have to be able to speak English for both the engagement of yourself with the Australian culture, the Australian people, the Australian economy, and we have to be able to hear you in English to understand you, and for likewise our engagement with the person coming to Australia.
Would you ban migration from all majority Muslim countries?
And what Senator Hanson was saying was Islamist. She was not saying all Muslims, she's saying Islamists. I would certainly stop migration from febrile parts of the world that on the belief that even though the majority of them may be good people, an unreasonable section cause problems because it's just a statement of fact.
Let me just clarify a little bit there, Barnaby Joyce, from the Senator's speech, because she quoted an author.
Sarah Ferguson.
She quoted an author asserting that Islam is not a religion, it's a political movement. So that's a different point. That is quoting someone saying that Islam doesn't exist as a religion, which takes me back to my question. Does that mean that you are evolving to a position where you want to ban immigration from all Muslim majority countries?
Well, she never said that. But if you have a literal view of the Quran, a literal view, I can certainly take you to surahs which instruct people to kill Jews, to kill gay people. This is not fictitious. I'm not making this up. It is there. If you have a literal view of that, then are you saying that that must be tenable and we must allow it, Sarah Ferguson? Is that what we want?
Let's move on to the subject of...
No, you answer that question.
No, well, I'm not here
to... answer that question?
I'm not here to answer questions, and we could spend a long time talking about the way the Australian immigration system works to screen out people with extremist views, but I'm trying to understand how One Nation's views about immigration are evolving and where they will land as they are taken more and more seriously as policies that could be enacted in government. And I'm using the Senator's own language today, which was asserting that Islam, quoting an author who said that Islam is not a religion, which is the reason for me trying to get you to clarify. But let's...
Well, I've just clarified that you're quite happy with the contention that we actually kill people because of their sexuality or because of their other religions.
May I just say, Barnaby Joyce, I'm not going to dignify such a patently ridiculous statement with an answer. I think we should move on.
You pose toxic questions, and I turn it around and do the same, and just show where this whole process can devolve to.
Let's talk about a few more of the things that were raised today. So, also today, outside of the speech, a decision was taken to increase wages for childcare workers. Senator Hanson criticised the decision and the money spent on childcare in Australia. What message does that send to the 1 million Australian families who use childcare?
It says we're going to be fiscally prudent on the delivery of a service and not just use the sort of moralistic argument that this is a good idea, therefore we'll never ever question how much we spend on it. We can't do that anymore, Sarah, because we are running out of money and we are doing it now at an exponential rate. If we don't have a serious conversation about how much we're spending, then we'll get to a point where we don't have to worry about it because that action will be taken away from us. Circumstances will mean we just don't have any money.
Here's another question about decisions on funding. So on poverty, the Senator talked about providing direct assistance to Australians struggling with cost of living. Will you expand the social security system to give direct assistance to the poorest Australians? Is that what you're proposing?
Well, let's get closer to the election to roll out policies. We have the issue that the Labor Party has close to 500 support staff. The coalition close to 100. We got like 4. So I am going to say we need a greater period of grace. We will give you the intention. Yes, those who are doing it toughest, those who are living in tents, those who don't getting one meal a day. This is untenable in our nation. It's one of the things that drives our desire to make Australia a better place, and it requires tough decisions. and we're quite prepared to make them. And as a Treasury spokesman for One Nation, I'm happy to have a further conversation as we sort of deliberate over these things and refine the policy in such a form as to take to the Australian people at an election. But that's a long way away, and we're not presuming for 1 second that we are going to be the government or everything will be as it is today. We'll just take one day at a time.
Let's call it a day for now, but we'll no doubt continue with all of those questions. Barnaby Joyce, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
It's always fun, Sarah, an absolute pleasure.